Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and as gun confiscation takes place in places like Florida and Seattle, as YouTube bans gun-related videos, as kids in need of mommy and daddy government to make them feel better plead for gun control, days after a school officer stopped a school shooter that no one seems to care about, there is an epic march coming to Washington. The March for Our Lives, as it's called, is a massive leftist gun control march to take on Washington, expecting an attendance of as many as 500,000 people. People who worship the same state that killed 600,000 children in Iraq alone. People who regurgitate mainstream media. People who hear loud noises, get scared, and ask the government to ban it to make them feel safer. The government, you know, that organized crime racket that has killed more people than anything else in the history of the world. Those are the people that they want to take away the guns from innocent people in order to stop violence, which is overwhelmingly low in areas with concealed and open carry. In fact, I doubt that anyone who pretends to care about children and demands gun control will watch this video any further. Even though I'm about to provide countless stats that contradict everything the mainstream media is telling you. If you continue watching, you get an A for at least having some form of resistance against confirmation bias. It's not easy. I used to support gun control when I was a kid. Then I realized that criminals don't follow laws, and the other criminals we call government, like I mentioned, the entity with the greatest head count ever, should not be trusted as the only entity with guns after they use violence and guns to take away other people's guns and push people further into dependence and servitude. Here are the stats the mainstream media isn't telling you. They're both government stats and independent studies. And I quote, "Between 2008 and 2009, the FBI's preliminary numbers indicate that murders fell nationally by 10% and by about 8% in cities that have between 500,000 and 999,999 people. Washington's population is about 590,000. During the same period of time, murders in the district fell by an astounding 25%, dropping from 186 to 140. The city only started allowing its citizens to own handguns for defense, again, in late 2008. Examining all the multiple victim public shootings in the United States from 1977 to 1999 shows that on average, states that adopt right-to-carry laws experience a 60% drop in the rates at which the attacks occur, and a 78% drop in the rates at which people are killed or injured from such attacks. The NSC estimates that in 1995, firearm accidents accounted for 1.5% of fatal accidents. Larger percentages of fatal accidents were accounted for by motor vehicle accidents, 47%, falls, 13.5%, poisonings, 11.4%, drowning, 4.8%, fires, 4.4%, and choking on an ingested object, which was about 3%. Violent crime rates are highest overall in states with laws severely limiting or prohibiting the carry of concealed firearms for self-defense. FBI Uniform Crime Units, 1992. The total violent crime rate is 26% higher in the restrictive states, 798.3 per 100,000 population, than in the less restrictive states, 631.6 per 100,000 people. The homicide rate is 49% higher in the restrictive states, 10.1 per 100,000, than in the states with less restrictive CCW laws, 6.8 per 100,000. The robbery rate is 58% higher in the restrictive states, 289.7 per 100,000, than in the less restrictive states, 183.1 per 100,000. The aggravated assault rate is 15% higher in the restrictive states, 455.9 per 100,000, than in the less restrictive states, 398.3 per 100,000. Using FBI data from 1992, homicide trends in the 17 states with less restrictive CCW laws compare favorably against national trends, and almost all CCW permittees are law-abiding. Since adopting CCW in 1987, Florida's homicide rate has fallen 21%, while the US rate has risen 12%. From startup 10/1/87 to 2/28/94 over 6 years, Florida issued 204,108 permits. Only 17, 0.008%, were revoked because permittees later committed crimes, not necessarily violent, in which guns were present, not necessarily used. Of 14,000 CCW licensees in Oregon, only 4, 0.03%, were convicted of the criminal, not necessarily violent, use or possession of a firearm. Americans use firearms for self-defense more than 2.1 million times annually. By contrast, there are about 579,000 violent crimes committed annually with firearms of all types. 70% of violent crimes are committed by 7% of criminals, including repeat offenders, many of whom the courts placed on probation after conviction, and felons that are paroled before serving their full time behind bars. 2/3 of self-protective firearms uses are with handguns. 99.9% of self-defense firearms uses do not result in fatal shootings of criminals, an important factor ignored in certain studies that are used to claim that guns are more often misused than used for self-protection. Now, many people believe that places like Australia and Britain are safer because of gun control. Well, think again. As this Wall Street Journal study concluded, within a decade of the handgun ban and confiscation of handguns from registered owners in Britain, crime with handguns had doubled, according to British government crime reports. Gun crime, not a serious problem in the past, now is. Armed street gangs have some British police carrying guns for the first time. As for Australia, while there has been much controversy over the result of the law and buyback, Peter Rauter and Jenny Muzos, in a 2003 study published by the Brookings Institute, found homicides continued a modest decline since 1997. They concluded that the impact of the National Firearms Agreement was relatively small, with the daily rate of firearm homicides declining 3.2%. In 2008, the Australian Institute of Criminology reported a decrease of 9% in homicides and a 1/3 decrease in armed robbery since the 90s. But an increase of over 40% in assaults and 20% in sexual assaults. Take Melbourne, Australia's second most populous city. Between January 16, 1998 and April 19, 2010, 36 criminal figures or partners were murdered during the Melbourne gangland killings. Alas, family environments from businesses to parks were drawn into the mess. The passage of gun control laws fueled our illegal arms market, and gun-hungry gangs multiplied. The significance: many gangland deaths, wars, involved bullets. The tribal fights exploded after the Port Arthur massacre inspired gun laws against mainstream media predictions. If these virtue-signaling gun control advocates cared about children and ending violence, they would not support gun control. In fact, they'd want more guns. Though perhaps they'd want to ban cars and water. Here are some stats regarding the tragic death of children. Cars, pools, bicycles, and other unintentional injuries are the top killers of children. The leading cause of injury-related death among children ages 14 and under are motor vehicle crashes, suffocation, drowning, and fires and/or burns. Over 1,400 children were killed by cars. Almost 260 of those deaths were young pedestrians. Bicycle and space heater accidents take many times more children's lives than guns. Over 90 drowned in bathtubs. The most recent yearly data available indicates that over 30 children under age 5 drowned in 5-gallon plastic water buckets. These are hard stats to read because, of course, it includes so many tragic stories that pain our hearts. But these stats are legitimate. They aren't feelings. They aren't fear. They are simply facts. Whether you want them to be true or not is irrelevant. When we have public indoctrination camps we call public schools, forcing kids with threat of punishment to take part in these protests regarding things they know nothing about, including kindergarten children, when we dismiss anyone who doesn't want gun control as someone who wants children dead and is some kind of bigot or Nazi, when we disregard historical facts in order to better suit our views so that we can carry on taking the easy route and pushing popular beliefs with the pack, then we know that we have truly become an apathetic populace of sheep on the farm eating the grass, believing everything was good because you got grass to eat, when in reality you are being led off to the slaughter with a smile on your face. Independent, responsible individuals who are able to take care of themselves and defend themselves do not benefit the government. The government depends on a subservient populace willing to give up its rights and lay down as it gets extorted and divided. Do not be part of that Jonestown crowd. If a hashtag pops up about bump stocks, which you likely know nothing about, and you're sharing the hashtag to make you look like you know things to your Facebook friends, you are part of the problem. I will leave you off with a quote for those who still believe in gun control. And I quote, "The most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to allow the subject races to possess arms. History shows that all conquerors who have allowed their subject races to carry arms have prepared their own downfall by so doing. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that the supply of arms to the underdogs is a sine qua non for the overthrow of any sovereignty. So let's not have any native militia or native police. German troops alone will bear the sole responsibility for the maintenance of law and order throughout the occupied Russian territories, and a system of military strongpoints must be evolved to cover the entire occupied country." That's a quote by Adolf Hitler. You're welcome. Stay tuned for more from Wham, and for the love of God, share this video and the stats included to as many people as you possibly can. Let's end this madness. Gun control is violence. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here at Wham, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the ADL comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. You can also find our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And don't forget to find us at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in cryptocurrency, Steem that is. So don't forget to find us there, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.